No one is talking about this while all eyes are on Easton Cowan and the impact he's going to make with this Toronto Maple Leafs team. There is one other player that not only not a lot of people are talking about, but has big implications going forward towards his team's success. We're going to break that down as well as multiple big Leafs updates on this episode. You're going to want to stay tuned until the end of the video. Before we get into it all, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70 or so percent of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support. Darius, it's still early on in the season. There's a lot of people feel like the sky is falling down after that Detroit Red Wings lost. Hopefully they can take care of business once again today. But we're going to be zeroing in on a couple of different players. Obviously, Easton Cowan set to make his NHL debut, and it's going to be an exciting one. But there's someone else that I want to talk about and both of us want to go over today, and that is Matias Maccelli. And the reason we want to do that is for a few different things. We have some updates. Of course, he's playing on a different line today and going forward, we would assume. But also, he's someone that hasn't gotten a lot of attention after the initial kind of jolt of the trade back in midsummer, and it was initially on the top line here. An interesting report came out regarding Matias Maccelli. I know a lot of people have said he was benched in Utah, but he was benched because he asked for a trade and he wanted out mid-season. And this is a player that at one point was very, very good a couple years ago. Last year had a really, really down year. He's projected to be pretty good this season. But the truth actually got released that it wasn't necessarily that he got sent down to the fourth line because of poor play, even though that was part of it. He was benched because he asked for a trade halfway through the year. And this all relates to the Leafs in the sense of he is prone for a very big year. Hopefully he can kind of reach that potential because so far, I know a lot of fans out there, even though it's only been 2 games, aren't super impressed with Maccelli.
Yeah, we see a lot out there about how fans are saying, Maccelli was a waste of a pickup, and I don't think that's necessarily true. But so far out of the gate, he hasn't come out, flying, and I don't think he's going to put up 100 points. They didn't acquire him to put up 100 points. But to your point, the truth has kind of finally come out, and I think we had an idea during the summer that this is why this happened. We heard that, he wanted out of Utah halfway through last season for whatever reason, I guess, and then he was, stapled to that fourth line position. And you're not going to put up 50, 60 points on the fourth line. It's just not going to happen, right? Like nobody does. So if you look a year before that and the year before that, when he was in Arizona, when the team was in Arizona, really good seasons. He had over 50 points, right? And that was on a bad team. So coming into this year, you're thinking, what can he do with some of the Leafs' top players? I was imagining that he was probably going to play in the top 6. It didn't look like it was going to start that way, but injuries changed things. He started on the top line. That top line really hasn't had that much punch. And I think Craig Berube's trying to get some of his lines going. That second line has been abysmal, which is where Maccelli is going to be playing now, heading into this next game. We'll see what happens after that. Or even within this game, right? Cowan can move down. We'll see what happens. But, he's trying to get something going with some of his lines. And again, the second line was bad. They didn't have much punch, and I don't think he's going to help their case defensively, that's for sure, but I think he just wants them to get going offensively, and he wants to see what Cowan can do with the top guys. Now, some people are speculating that maybe Nylander moves up to the top line. I don't think that's necessarily a good idea. Nick, I don't know how you feel about that. I don't think you want all your, firepower on one line. I don't think that would work well. I think you want to spread it throughout the lineup a little bit. And I just don't think that those two would work together. They demand the puck, right? So that's an interesting idea, but I think they're going to rock with the lines the way they are now heading into this game against Detroit. And we'll see where where everything falls against Nashville on Tuesday.
Yeah, and Jonas Siegel, he made this tweet there. Max Domi, Matias Maccelli, Easton Cowan. Should the Leafs just play William Nylander with Austin Matthews and end the top line shuffling? Probably not. Like the short answer is probably not, but a lot of it depends on what happens in today's game and going forward. If you're watching this video after Easton Cowan made his NHL debut, let us know down below in the comments how he did and where you think he, fits going forward. If you're watching it before, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are, that's what a lot of the big question marks come from. Now, obviously, these are the lines heading into today's game, and of course, we assume for the next few games. I can't imagine. Unless Easton Cowan has a really bad game today, of course, we'll see. It's an Amazon Prime game, but Matthew Nyes, Austin Matthews, Easton Cowan. You see Maccelli right now on the second line, and this is a time to talk about him because this might be one of his last chances. Maybe in the top 6. Like there's conversations about that. We know he was on that third line with a couple of the other newcomers in Joshua and Watt earlier on in spring training. Think about baseball in training camp. Obviously, Maccelli, Tavares, Nylander. That should be a pretty good landing spot for him to be an effective offensive player. We saw it with Bobby McMahon last year when he was on that line. He did really well. Now Bobby McMahon is down there to the third line. You can look at some of his projected stats. He's projected to be okay defensively, which is kind of surprising, but they signed him for some offensive finesse and not to necessarily replace what Mitch Marner does because no one is going to be able to do that on the open market. He was a very good player, whether we like him or not, which some people do, some people don't. but they have similar. I wouldn't even say similar play styles necessarily, but neither of those guys are super physical players, right? Maccelli's brought in for the skill aspect of it, almost like Nick Robertson to a degree, but I think a bit more fine-tuned. Maccelli needs to be a good playmaker on that line. You have two guys who are capable of scoring goals, both of which scored over 30 goals last year. This is a good chance for him. He didn't really do it in the top line. Maybe that was too much pressure. Maybe they'll move him back up there if Cowan does poorly, but a lot of it does ride on Easton Cowan. And to be honest, I could see a world where they put William Nylander up in that top line. If, let's say, in a week, Cowan doesn't work out, Maccelli's not working out, though I think they'd probably try Domi there first, but I don't think Berube wants to have Domi on the top line for whatever reason.
No, well, not right now. I think if all things were equal and everyone was healthy, Domi would be on the top line. I think Maccelli would be on the third line with Joshua and Waugh, not Joshua Waugh from the Montreal Canadiens. Keep getting that mixed up with the third line and the fourth line. But, I think with the way the lines are now and the fact that Lorentz is out and Lawton's out, and you might never have a healthy lineup throughout a season, right? Some teams just never do, right? So you have to prepare yourself for stuff like that. The third line is interesting. It did work at times last year. They had really, really good games. Domi, Robertson, and McMahon. So we'll see what they do with that. I don't like Domi at center. I think that he's a much better winger. I think he has to think about too much when he's playing center. And you can see that he's thinking about things while he's playing this year, right? Like he's overthinking things. There's times where he should pass and he's shooting because Berube told him to shoot more. And there's times, the opposite. So I think he's thinking too much because he's playing center. He should be playing wing. So if everyone was healthy, I think it would be Domi up there. We haven't had a look at what that looks like yet. We know Maccelli works on the third line if it is Joshua and Waugh, right, on that third line. So that would be interesting to see if they want to revisit that. But for the time being, Maccelli on the second line, they got to get going. And to your point as well, is maybe they try Nylander at some point on the top line. The only way I see that happening is if they come into this game and they look bad again against Detroit and they're not scoring. I think that they could pair them together to try and get everyone going because it has been a slow start. We're used to Matthews coming out of the gate with like a hat trick every game, right? At least to start the season. So it has been a slow start in that regard, and maybe they can get going together, but that hasn't happened yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I think Maccelli with Nylander could be really, really fun. I think Nylander is that guy. He looks to shoot now, right? Of course, he's a great playmaker, underrated playmaker as well. But Maccelli feeding him the puck, that could be really good. And one thing I want to mention too is I haven't necessarily noticed John Tavares this season, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. I think he's just doing his thing. He's responsible defensively. They got filled last game, let's be honest, but I think he's just kind of doing his thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they all got to get going here. We need some more, point production out of them. And they look a little bit slow, too. I'm looking for that in this game as well. But pretty exciting stuff. Easton Cowan on the first line. We'll all be watching for that. And hopefully he stays there. Hopefully it's not a situation where 3-4 shifts in, there's nothing happening, and Berube moves them around.
Yeah, Tavares, he was horrible last game, fine in game one. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully Maccelli can pick it up. And, of course, all eyes now remain on Easton Cowan, even beyond this game, to see what happens with the line shuffling, because it is getting a little bit wild. And he spoke out recently on that and said, I feel like I'm ready for this. So I'm just going to take it all in, enjoy it, and have some fun. So let us know down below if you're excited for it. Maccelli's coming off of a down year. Easton Cowan coming off of not a year with the NHL team, but a year with the OHL team, ready to prove some things that people wrong. And we're excited to keep you up to date with all the latest news. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.